Cordell Riley, President of Portal Training. Pleasure to welcome you to Breakthrough Ideas in Training webinar today. Delighted to be with you. It's also my pleasure to welcome to the session Harry J. Friedman. Harry is an international consultant, speaker, all on the subject of retail sales, sales management. Harry founded the Friedman Group in 1980, if I'm correct. Harry, welcome to the session.
Cordell, it's a pleasure to be here.
Super, super. Now, Harry, I know I did that real quick. Certainly expound upon yourself and the Friedman Group so the audience gets a feel for yourself and your group and what you guys do.
First of all, I want to apologize for my appearance. I've been on an extended bicycle ride throughout Europe, and I decided not to shave, and I have no good clothing with me, so please forgive that. The Friedman Group, I started in 1980 for the purpose of sharing my ideas of productivity improvement on the selling floor. That evolved into the understanding that it was management that was probably the weak link that was causing a lack of sustained performance at a higher level. So we explored that deeply throughout the 80s and wrote and published and give seminars on our retail management concepts, which are used by more retailers than anybody in the world. And then we explored, in the 90s, we explored district management and senior management and high accountability. So we've been blessed with, we have offices in 12 countries around the world, and we've trained over 1 million people, and we're kind of lucky, but we've got good stuff.
Good deal. Trained over 1 million people. So, Harry, I'm going to come back to this in a second. First of all, no need to apologize for your attire and your beard. Tell the audience where you're at. Where are you doing this session from right now?
I rode into Budapest yesterday, and so I took the day to actually be with you. So we're in a sort of a weird place that has a good internet connection, and we'll get on the bikes tomorrow fully loaded with camping equipment and everything else on our way to Bucharest, and then eventually to Romania, the Black Sea. Yes.
Wow. Interesting. You got to take pictures and all those things. I'd love to kind of see some of the results at the end of it. So that's exciting. Harry, you mentioned training over 1 million people. So you've obviously been in training for quite some time, and you've obviously had the pleasure of working with a lot of different organizations. You know, again, our group here is a bunch of training professionals that are all really trying to think about how they make themselves better. But as I start these off, I'd love to just kind of get your perspective on the importance of training inside of an organization. I mean, you look at what businesses talk about, getting to the next level, changing and doing things. How important do you feel training is inside of an organization?
Well, Cordell, you already know the answer to this. But, you know, if inherently people had the awareness to do the right thing, in service industries, I suppose it'd be fair enough. I mean, you get a sense of doing the right thing and you do the right thing. However, when we look at technical training or product knowledge-based training or skill-based training, it becomes a completely different issue. So I don't see them as similar. I see them as completely different. And certainly in the skill-based training and those kinds of businesses, I don't know how you would exist without it. How it's done is a whole nother story, but it's essential. I mean, it's part of the DNA of how you get your people to behave the way you need them to behave. Not classical, theoretical textbook stuff, but how your company wants to process, whether it's in manufacturing or, you know, paperwork or whatever you're doing. You've got to do it the way you want to do it. And unfortunately, even a degree in any particular industry, such as accounting or being an attorney, doesn't account for how the owner of that organization or CEO wants their people to behave. You know, and we often refer to that as culture, don't we, in so many different ways. If you think of Disney's culture or IBM's culture, if you go back to even look at Ford Motor Company versus Chevrolet, and I've been blessed to be at both of their headquarters over the years, and you might as well be on a different planet. The people are different, the way they behave is different, and yet many of the jobs are very similar, if not identical.
Yeah. Harry, do you think most business leaders, you and I share a passion for it, and obviously many of the people on this session, do you think most business leaders are looking at it as one of their key metrics, key items that's going to help move their business forward?
Of course not. I mean, listen, it's a matter of, sometimes it's a matter of how the company started.
Yeah.
You know, if you look at the Nordstrom brothers back in Seattle in the late 1800s, early 1900s, you know, they sold shoes and they had a particular idea of how they wanted to do it. And now today it's Nordstrom, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Disney started with his, you know, little cartoon Mickey Mouse thing, but what a culture, right? It's just unbelievable. Or
Yeah.
McDonald's culture, they started this way. I'll tell you, the biggest challenge on the planet is retro, retro work, getting, changes done, change management. Oh my, it's kind of fun. It's kept me in business for over 30 years. Yeah. So, I
So
mean,
Harry, yeah, yeah. So you mentioned culture several times. You
yeah,
mentioned retro in the culture.
yeah.
And think about our audience here. So, I mean, if we got these training people that are trying to say, okay, I want to do a better job. I'm trying to obviously enhance my skills as a trainer inside the organization, but I got some culture things I have to work on. Any tips, any words of wisdom that you would share with our audience as it relates to this?
Well, I've been working with uh, training people for over 30 years. So, and we have served many multinational companies and very big national companies that have training departments and sub departments and sub departments and so forth. And I find that there's often misguided visions or chain of command. Training is not an operational position. And yet, in retail, they've made it as such.
Yeah,
So we don't like, when we're about to work on cultural change within an organization, the last people we want to talk to is the training department. And I'll tell you, it's because they don't have the horsepower, the authority, or the operational will to change anything. So
hmm,
if we get back to your original question, I would say that the most important mandate is for the training department to really be partners with the tactical or operational side in such a way that they're not protecting their own turf. And this
yeah,
happens so often that oh my God, it wears me out. I mean, really. I mean, you understand, I'm a retail guy, right? But
yeah,
my customers are not. My customers are, it's B2B. So it's not as
yeah,
if I don't understand B2B. I mean, I've
yeah,
written courses on B2B. So that's not an issue. But I mean, in the end, you want Johnny going up to a customer, thrilling them to death, smiling, like crazy, and making the deal, right? And then adding on. It's not
yeah,
more complicated than that.
yeah,
But the laws and the rules and the flat out garbage that goes on to forget A to B. We're on the Cyrillic system. You can't even figure out what the letters are, you
yeah,
know. So you can't fire anybody, blah blah blah. Well, anyway, um, I, I would hope that trainers would fight to be better partners with the operational tactical side. That's the global advice. I mean, that's for sure. And if you want to talk about training itself, we can talk about that anytime you want. But I see that as the biggest problem is that training department is usually the enemy of everybody
yeah.
for no
You know,
really good reason.
yeah, and that's a great point. One of the things that Training Magazine came out with, they came out with their top 5 trends in training for 2015, and one they talked about was aligning training with business goals, not just training for the sake of training, but really align with those business goals and moving it forward. So, great point that you talked about there.
Except for I gotta beg you to stop reading magazines like that. It just takes you further from the truth. It's platitudes. I mean, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, it's an operational game, isn't it? Really, it's about execution. It's not about defending your job and
Hmm.
coming up with all sorts of new processes and ideas when it's just sitting in front of you. to
Yeah.
defend your job. Now, the operational guys have to understand that, you know, they just want results and get off the back of training and let them do their job, right? So it is a partnership. Oof, it's just so far away from the truth.
Yeah. Wow. So hey, what is the truth then, Harry? I mean, what is the truth?
Well, the truth is that, um, and I'm about to jump you here because I knew you were going to ask me a question later, and I think I'm about to answer it in advance, which hope I don't throw you.
Jump ahead. Jump ahead. That's
Hope
why
I
I
don't
love
get
something
a
like
penalty shot for that. Um, the truth is we've lost sight of the goal. The goal is the behavior that we, or the set of behaviors that we want, right? Oftentimes we have process, right, that gets us to that behavioral change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Training companies supposedly have better process. Otherwise, why would you hire them? I mean, the Friedman group has process. We have our methodology of getting Johnny as a rookie or newbie or even a veteran to behave a different way.
Yeah.
But we're also very interested in time limits. So we need willing participants. Training departments are patient. They're not only patient, but everybody's patient in the political world.
Yeah.
And I'm not that patient. I want performance, and I pay for it, so I want it. And yeah, that's the game, isn't it? I give you
Yeah.
money to do what I want you to do,
Yeah.
not what you want to do, but what I want you to do. And I start with that premise. And that separates about half of my potential clients.
Yeah.
They're not willing to play that game. We're
Yeah.
known as pretty tough guys. But in the end, we get higher performance than any other company that's ever existed in our world.
Higher performance than any other company that's existed. What does that mean, Harry? Just go a little bit deeper in that. What does that highest performance mean?
We look at two things that are essential. Number one, you got to give them sales increases, otherwise they can't defend. It just makes them feel better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we all like sales increases. But what I'm more interested in is setting up the infrastructure and the processes to maintain it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm interested in. And the only way that occurs is through cultural change. And let me give you an example. And Cordell, we could use this in any industry you want. We could use it in manufacturing. We could use it in service businesses, whatever. Let's say I'm talking to a jeweler, and I ask them, are you a jewelry store that makes sales, or are you a sales company that sells jewelry? And I'm only
Yeah.
interested in one answer.
Yeah.
You better be a sales company that sells jewelry.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can't always buy right. And if you think of manufacturers and anything else, I mean, let's talk to Ford about Etzel. No, that was before you were born. Sorry about that. It
Thank you,
was.
Harry.
Oh, my age. Um, yeah, talk to GM
I'm
about.
not riding across country on a bike, so you're
Yeah,
obviously
but
doing something right.
you talk to GM about Saturn. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's a short conversation. So you can't always, indeed, create the perfect product, but you can always treat your customers exceedingly well. You can treat your internal customers exceedingly well. And it comes down to my new word, Cordell, of the year. And I have a tendency to have a new word every year or two. And I've been all over this word for about 2 years now, and it's awareness. And people, somebody said to me, well, Harry, you're a smart guy. And I went, I don't really think so. I just think I'm more aware than you.
Yeah.
I see everything.
Yeah.
I see everything. And what I found going through Europe in businesses that I deal with, from bicycle shops to restaurants to, you know,
Yeah.
camping grounds to whatever, there is so little awareness for the customer's mood, beat, or tempo. It's almost unbelievable.
Yeah.
If we think our customer service in America is suffering, which it is, it's gotten worse, then if you need to feel better, just come to Europe where it doesn't exist.
Harry, I want to go back to something. You kind of touched on this about sustainable, doing things that they're sustainable, people get results. When I was looking at your bio, I'm just going to read this. I think it's relevant for our audience. You kind of touched on it. But when you're talking about it, it's never a matter of just disseminating information. It's always about transforming the culture so that it's sustainable. So that it's sustainable. It's getting those results out there. Again, talk to our audience, Harry. So if I'm getting ready to build training inside of my group for whatever it might be, it's not just about disseminating that information. I want to make sure I'm going to do something that's sustainable and is going to help get those results. How do I go about doing that as a trainer inside of my organization?
Well, there's a couple things. And I like the fact that I said that because I believe it. Because I believe it.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in training for training's sake. I mean, why? I mean, there's no goal in training. I mean,
yeah,
there's only the job itself and the ability of an individual to execute that job. That's it. I mean, training is just a link between this guy knowing nothing and then being able to do what you want him to do, right? That's
yeah,
the link.
yeah,
But in order to sustain our job, sometimes we teach this guy about 800 things that he doesn't need to know. So I had a client in the kitchen and bath business. I still do. He's a dear friend of mine. And we were talking about refrigerators. Somebody's got to sell them.
yeah.
I said, you must apply my theory of 10. And he says, what's your theory of 10? And I said, there's no chance in the world that a customer would ever ask more than 10 questions about a refrigerator. Think about it.
Yeah,
If you'll sit
yeah,
there right now, you're going to go, oh, I got 11. Okay, sue me. But it's 10.
yeah,
And I've got this theory of 10. And when we're done teaching him product knowledge, we've given him 675, of
yeah,
which he remembers none. And can execute, you know what I mean? Can
yeah,
execute. So trainers, again, in the defense of their job, in the thickness of the manual, because the thickness of the manual equates to how good you're doing your job. you know, it's it's
big man. Yeah,
it's yeah. No, I got the thickest in the industry. Don't kid yourself.
yeah,
Value. Um, I, I want to keep it. I want to eliminate the garbage that we don't need to teach the guy,
yeah,
and then hold him so accountable for the stuff that I do that eventually, and drill them on it, and drill them on it, and drill them on it. We don't do that. We're terrible at drilling people. We feel so guilty about asking a guy 3 months later if he can still do what you taught him in the training class. We don't do it.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it's ridiculous. I mean, doctors don't do it. Attorneys don't. Nobody, who does? Airline pilots, thank God, do it, right? They have to be certified, right?
Yeah,
They get constantly checked. It's called check rides with, FAA guys and everybody else to make sure, right? And what they're saying is we have all these people in your hands, right? And
yeah,
I said, well, why is that any different than business? We have all these customers in your hands and you can't answer simple questions and no one even knows that.
yeah,
So I'm just going back to the simplest thoughts in the world with high accountability. So to heck with all the manuals, give this guy the 10 question test on any subject, and then ask it to him all the time.
yeah.
And eventually, he's going to know it. And when he knows it, he can use it. And when he uses it, he's on the team. And he's never on the team until he can use it.
Wow. So I heard get rid of the big manual, really focus on the things, the 10 questions that that person needs, drill them on it, drill them on it. I like the term of drilling them on it, going back over and over again. So I heard that. You talked about holding them accountable, Harry. What does that mean, holding somebody accountable? So I've got to the things you really need. I've drilled you on it. Now I'm going to hold you accountable. What does that mean?
Okay, so here it is. If it's a job, then it has a statistic.
Yeah,
If it's not a job, then it might not have a statistic. But jobs always have a statistic. So if you're an attorney, maybe the statistic is percentage of cases that you won, right?
yeah,
And you want to hire the guy with a high batting average.
yeah, yeah.
So each job, right, has statistics, and we
Mm-hmm.
look at those statistics. We throw out all the garbage that managers want just because they have something to yell about, you know, which is ridiculous. Keep
Yeah,
it simple. Keep it some KPIs. You could call it whatever you want.
yeah.
I'm not using training talk. I just want to sound good
KPI, key
because
performance indicators,
I'm
what
an
you mean.
SME. I'm an SME. I know this stuff. Keep it simple and
Yeah.
and hold the guy accountable and have a culture that is ready to take disciplinary action at a high level, fast and hard.
Hmm.
Fast and hard. Now, that doesn't mean that I go around firing people. On the contrary, people want to work in a place where they're held accountable so they know how
Yeah.
to win. People don't
Yeah.
even know how to win, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't give trophies to third place and ninth place like they do in Little League today. I don't do that. You either won or you lost, baby. Right? No, you don't get a big trophy for taking last place.
I'm not sure
So,
you can. I'm not sure you can be a soccer coach now, Harry, in this day and world that we live in.
not going to be. Yeah, not going to be. Yeah. No, I'd be fired too fast. Uh, uh, you want everybody to play, of course, but it's not important in those leagues at that age.
Yeah.
It's important to participate for sure.
Yeah.
But teaching them that you get a trophy for sixth place is a bad lesson because it carries through their life. And they're poor performers in their business life, but they want some sort of trophy. I
Yeah.
say, no. We want to help them find a career at an alternate place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sounding a little bit tough here, but I like high accountability, Cordell, in a big way.
I hear you,
Yeah,
and I agree with you, Harry. Holding people accountable, KPIs, linking it back to what the business wants them to do. Great point.
that's it. Period. You
Yeah.
know, and lots of fun.
Fun. We hadn't talked about it. Certainly, you and I are having fun, but talk about fun, Harry. I think fun is key in an organization. I think it's key in training. What's your perspective on fun in this whole scenario here?
When I was running the Friedman Group back in the '90s, my department managers had, yeah, I can't even believe I said this, called a warm fuzzy fund, right? Which is kind of ridiculous because I wouldn't say words like that today. But the folks liked it. I put in thousands of dollars into each department every quarter, and I just said, give it away.
Yeah.
Find a way, make it fun. Take them all out. Go, just do ridiculous things, and there's a sense of bonding and teamwork and fellowship and all that. You spend more time with the people you work with than you do anybody else in your life. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
you don't want it to be stiff. You want it to be really great. The Friedman Group's famous for that. Oh my goodness, we've had some, we've
So
had great times. Great
it
times.
sounds like it. So Harry, you started the Freedom Group back in the '80s, so a lot of time around training. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in training from the '80s to where we are today? What are some of the biggest changes that you've
Well,
seen?
everything stems from the internet. I mean, it's changed everything. 1,000%. I mean, I was the very first guy on the planet to resist e-learning.
To resist it.
Yes, I was the first guy. Well, you know how much money it was going to cost me to change everything to e-learning? Now, of course, I adore it.
Yeah.
But I only adore it because it makes it accessible at a low cost for so many people. I don't adore it for its usefulness.
Yeah.
However, I mean, that may or may not be true. There's lots of technical things and boring things that can be gone through quite easily that are not culture driven, right? And I
Yeah.
think e-learning is brilliant for that, without a doubt. Um, I think it's just a minimum level of expectation that you can get out of e-learning, which is great. But that's only part of it. Research, just internet.
Internet. Yeah. It's definitely changed things, Harry. It's definitely changed things. When did you guys start internet training or making it available via the internet and Freedman Group?
I don't know. I don't. 8 years ago,
8 years ago.
in various forms. Yeah, we may have even had private channels with our training, intranet setups and so forth. Not the public internet. You could go online and actually buy our sales courses, online courses now. Over the internet, you could do that, or a lot of our other programs. But before that, it certainly was available through the intranet of bigger companies and so forth. But we're fairly new to the game, 8, 9 years, but we're good at it.
Good, good. So, Harry, you mentioned the internet as one of the biggest changes. What have you seen as one of the biggest challenges in training right now? What have you seen one of the biggest challenges in training?
The internet.
The internet.
You know, I've said this to many, many clients, and I say it very respectfully with a smile on my face. So please look at the smile on my face. And I don't mean it, but I must give you the real words that I use because they have impact, but they're not politically correct. I would say sometimes you just got to grab somebody by the neck and teach them how to sell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
obviously, you know, my God, you're not touching people and going to jail, and I'm not talking about it. It's a kind of a spiritual thing. It's just teach somebody something. You know what I mean? Look at them face to face, work with them side by side, and don't leave their side until that guy's as good as you. Just train him, right? Make sure that he knows how to do this stuff. Why do people need so many managers if they're good at what they do? It's a tough question.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a great point, Harry. It's a great point. I definitely
and
believe
internet takes a little bit of, Cordell, the internet takes a little bit of that away.
Yeah.
You see, I mean, some of us test very, very well, right? So we can get through the end of chapter testing on the internet, or you know what I'm saying? That doesn't necessarily mean that you can actually do this stuff. So the goodness that provides us the opportunity to have it in even minute details in terms of training, right? Just little tiny segmented things, which is really wonderful.
Yeah.
And the problem, on the other hand, is that you don't know if the guy can do it. I mean, we have content. Our website, we have content management. All that. Why would I want to print policy and procedures manual and I can put all that stuff? You know what I mean? On an LMS and ask the guy 4 questions, and and at least your liability is taken away. Doesn't mean he can do anything.
Yeah. Harry, I think where the real magic in that whole scenario comes in. So you mentioned as one of the challenges and one of the biggest issues associated with the internet. I think finding that right balance of what is appropriate for online, what's appropriate for when you actually need to be with the person, to your point, and really make sure that they're getting those things. And finding that magic, I think, is what it really can get it.
You're exactly right. And I don't want anybody to think that I'm not a big fan of it. And you guys do. You guys are all over it, and in a big, beautiful, gorgeous, elegant way. I wouldn't want to live without it. So, am I a big fan of it? Absolutely. Do I think it's essential? 100%. I just want to balance it with making sure that some human being says, "Did you really get it, or did you kind of get it?"
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you a truth about me, and it's sad. But there was a time, Cordell, in my life that I could do an algebraic equation.
Oh my goodness. We're not going to do this on this phone call. You're not going to throw me a question.
What I'm saying is, did I learn it, or did I just memorize it to get out of algebra?
Yeah.
I'm not interested in employees that are just trying to pass the test.
Yeah.
I want people to be able to perform. So it's that combination of the e-learning and the e-portals and all the things that you can provide, right, for resources for individuals to improve their game. I am the biggest fan in the world, and I've committed a ton of resources to it in my company.
Yeah.
And in the end, I love it. Let's just balance it a little bit with some human saying, "Did you really get it?" And then I'm a happy guy.
I think balance is probably the key word on that one, Harry. The right way to. Yeah.
With you.
There you go. So, Harry, we got a big audience of training professionals out here, all taking some time today to sit back and listen to you and I banter back and forth, and they're all trying to make themselves better at what they do day in and day out. So if you had to give some tips to this audience, how can they make their training more effective inside of their organization? I know we've talked about a lot of different things. What kind of tips would you want to leave this group with as they're going back and thinking about this today?
I started writing 2 words back in the late 80s that have changed the way we train and certainly a lot of our customers' lives. And these are 2 words that can change any trainer's life. And the 2 words are show me, right? So we believe that the training cycle is never complete until the trainee is able to show someone their competence in a step, a process, or even a global, a global training program. Show me has to be built in way more than it is currently in the things that I see. Um, and uh, and it's bite-sized steps. So it's a little bit of this, show me. A little bit of this, show me. And if there's a faulty foundation, Cordell, in any of the guys training over here, then the building over here is on such unstable ground that it collapses so easily. So I think we got to do things in a gradient that people can accept, and we don't all learn at the same rate.
Yeah.
We just don't.
Yeah.
This is why e-learning is so great, because it's not the trainer's agenda, it's the individual's agenda, which is, I think, is not really taken into account in training sessions. We do a 3-day management and sales and supervisors course we have for almost 30 years around the country, if not the world. Actually, we run them all over the world. And, when my trainer's done at 5 o'clock, we're done for the day. Whether the trainee is done or not doesn't really matter. We're done.
Yeah.
And I think that's going on in the training world today. So show me some sort of flexibility in learning rates. Yeah, those are big things.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Simple.
So those chunks, little short chunks, take it at my rate and show me. You got to have those show me opportunities built into it.
I think so.
Great point.
Yeah, I think so.
Harry, I could keep going on all day with you. I'm sure our audience could sit and listen all day. We got to let you get back on that bike to get to the Black Sea that you're getting
and
to.
And if I get to save.
Harry, thank you for this. This has been very, very helpful, very, very informative. I know that you have an offer that you wanted to make available to our listeners here. You want to share what that offer is and how they go about getting it?
Of course. If anybody's in retail or manufacturing wants to know about retail, we have a site called friedmanlearning.com, friedmanlearning.com, Friedman.com, and it's terrific. And it's actually a membership site where you pay a small monthly fee and you have access to a tremendous amount of content. We made a conscious decision to do it that way. So we have 33 years of groundbreaking content that I've written, oh my goodness, I've been published 1,500 times. So I have tons of articles and tons of resources, and we put them on this website. And if any of the people that are listening want to check it out, we've arranged to give you a free pass for 48 hours. So that's kind of cool. Just go to friedmanlearning.com and check, put in the code. I got this written, EOTWS. EOTWS. And that'll get you a free pass for 48 hours. And if that's not enough, write to us and yell and scream, and we'll try to provide you great customer service. And if they want to join as a result of seeing that, wow, wouldn't that be great? That will extend, because of you guys and my relationship with you, a 50% discount on the membership, which is incredible. So if you're anywhere near retail, I think it's worth a look.
Good deal. Good deal. Harry, very generous offer. Thank you for the offer. Thank you for the time. Safe travels on the rest of your journey. Make sure you take a lot of pictures. I want to see them at the end of this thing here. Thank you. Thanks to our audience for joining this. This has hopefully been a very informative session for you. Please come back and partake in more breakthrough ideas and training webinars. Take care. Bye-bye.